The motorcycle screamed past at 200 miles per hour. Its rider hunched low against the wind, completely unaware that 19-year-old Emily Smith had him in her crosshairs from 800 yards away. Her finger rested gently on the trigger of her custom rifle, breath steady despite the impossible shot she was about to attempt. The target wasn't the rider, it was the tiny transmitter device strapped to the bike's frame, no bigger than a pack of gum, broadcasting coordinates to a terrorist cell planning to detonate bombs across downtown Chicago in exactly 17 minutes. Emily's pale green eyes tracked the motorcycle's trajectory with inhuman precision, calculating wind speed, gravitational drop, and the complex physics of intercepting a target moving faster than most aircraft at takeoff. Her shoulder-length auburn hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her slender frame belied the incredible steadiness of her hands. She wore simple black tactical gear, nothing flashy, nothing that would draw attention to the fact that she was quite possibly the most naturally gifted marksman who had ever lived. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. The motorcycle hit a slight curve in the highway below, exactly where Emily had predicted it would 3 seconds ago. She squeezed the trigger with the same casual precision most people used to turn a page in a book. The specially designed electromagnetic pulse round left her rifle at nearly 3,000 feet per second, crossed the impossible distance in less than a heartbeat, and struck the transmitter with surgical accuracy. The device sparked and died instantly, its signal vanishing from the terrorist cell's tracking screens 8 miles away. Through her scope, Emily watched the rider glance down at his GPS device in confusion, completely unaware that his unknowing participation in mass murder had just been terminated by a teenage girl he would never see or meet. She lowered her rifle and allowed herself a small smile. Another catastrophe prevented, another impossible shot completed, another day where her strange gift had made the world a little bit safer. But as Emily began packing her equipment, her encrypted satellite phone buzzed with an incoming message that would change everything. Target neutralized. Excellent work as always. However, we have a problem. Someone else knows about your abilities, and they're coming for you. Trust no one. Extract immediately. Commander Hayes. Emily's blood ran cold as she read the message twice, then watched it automatically delete from her phone's memory. In 3 years of working as an off-the-books government asset, she had never received a warning like this. Her location was supposed to be classified at the highest levels. Her very existence was a state secret, known only to a handful of people in the intelligence community. She grabbed her rifle case and emergency pack, mind already calculating escape routes and safe houses. But as she moved toward the stairwell of the abandoned building she'd been using as a sniper's nest, she heard the sound that made her heart stop completely. Footsteps. Multiple sets, moving with military precision. Already inside the building and climbing toward her position, Emily Smith, the girl who never missed, was about to discover that being perfect with a rifle meant nothing when you were the one being hunted. Emily's extraordinary gift had first manifested when she was 7 years old, during what should have been an ordinary family camping trip in the Colorado Rockies. Her father, retired Marine Colonel James Smith, had been teaching her basic marksmanship with a .22 caliber rifle, expecting nothing more than a few lessons in gun safety and maybe hitting a paper target at 20 yards. Instead, Emily had proceeded to put 15 consecutive shots through the exact same hole from 50 yards away, using iron sights while sitting cross-legged on the ground. "That's not possible," her father had whispered, examining the target through binoculars. "The bullet holes are overlapping perfectly. It's like she fired one shot 15 times into the exact same spot." Her mother, Dr. Sarah Smith, a neuroscientist at the University of Chicago, had initially dismissed it as beginner's luck combined with a father's exaggerated pride. But when Emily repeated the feat the next day and the day after that, with different rifles, different distances, and increasingly challenging conditions, Dr. Smith began to suspect they were dealing with something far beyond normal human capability. Camping trip that was supposed to last a week ended up extending to 3 weeks as word of Emily's abilities somehow leaked to certain interested parties. By the time the Smith family returned to their home in suburban Oak Park, Illinois, they found government representatives waiting in their living room with documents that would change their lives forever. Your daughter possesses a neurological anomaly that manifests as perfect hand-eye coordination and spatial reasoning, Agent Patricia Winters had explained, her crisp business suit and serious demeanor making 8-year-old Emily hide behind her mother's legs. We've seen maybe 3 cases like this in the past 50 years. The government has a vested interest in understanding and eventually utilizing this gift for national security purposes. Colonel Smith, despite his military background, had been fiercely protective. She's 8 years old. She should be playing with dolls and learning to ride a bicycle, not being studied like a lab rat by government spooks. With respect, Colonel, your daughter's abilities make her a strategic asset of immense value. Agent Winters had replied, "We're not talking about taking her away from you. We're talking about providing specialized training, education, and eventually, when she's older, offering her the opportunity to serve her country in ways that could save thousands of lives." The negotiations had taken months. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Emily would live a normal life as much as possible, attending regular school and participating in typical childhood activities, but she would also receive specialized training during summers and weekends. Her abilities would be kept classified, and when she turned 18, she would have the choice to either join a special government program or walk away completely with her family's safety guaranteed. Now, at 19, Emily had been working as an off-the-books operative for just over a year, taking assignments that required precision beyond normal human capability. She had prevented assassinations, disabled explosive devices, and eliminated threats with surgical accuracy that left no trace of government involvement. Her existence was known only to a handful of people: Agent Winters, who had become her handler; Commander David Hayes, who coordinated her missions; her parents, who worried constantly but understood the importance of her work; and Dr. Marcus Chun, the government psychologist who helped her process the psychological burden of her responsibilities. But someone else knew about her now, and they were climbing the stairs toward her position with military precision. Emily moved with the fluid grace of someone who had spent years training for exactly this scenario. She slung her rifle case across her shoulder and activated the building's fire alarm system with a small electronic device, hoping the chaos would provide cover for her escape. The shrill alarm echoed through the abandoned office building as she made her way toward the emergency stairwell on the opposite side of her entry point. Through her tactical earpiece, she heard Agent Winters' voice. "Phoenix, report. We're showing multiple heat signatures converging on your position." "Confirmed, Mother Bird," Emily whispered, using their established code names. "Unknown hostiles, professional movement patterns. Extracting via route Charlie. Negative en route. Charlie, we're picking up additional signatures at that exit. You have friendlies moving to support. ETA 4 minutes. 4 minutes might as well have been 4 hours when dealing with professional operators who clearly knew the building's layout. Emily reached the stairwell and paused, listening carefully. She could hear boots on concrete, at least 2 teams moving with coordinated precision. These weren't ordinary mercenaries or criminals. They moved like special forces, possibly foreign intelligence operatives. She keyed her earpiece again. "Mother Bird, I need to know who these people are and how they found me." "Working on it." "Phoenix, priority is getting you out of there safely." Emily began descending the stairs as quietly as possible, every sense on high alert. Her gift wasn't just about marksmanship. The same neurological anomaly that gave her perfect aim also enhanced her spatial awareness and reaction time to superhuman levels. She could process and react to threats faster than most people could, even perceive them. On the 5th floor, she heard voices speaking in what sounded like Russian. Her heart rate increased slightly. Russian intelligence services meant this was much more serious than a simple security breach. Someone had not only discovered her existence, but had convinced Moscow that she was important enough to risk an operation on American soil. Emily's mind raced through possible scenarios. Had there been a mole in the program? Had her communications been compromised? Or had someone simply put together enough pieces to figure out that the impossible shots being made around the world weren't luck or technology, but a single individual with unprecedented abilities? The voices grew closer, and Emily realized they were systematically clearing each floor. Professional, thorough, patient. She needed a way out that didn't involve direct confrontation, not because she couldn't handle herself in a fight, but because killing foreign operatives would create an international incident that could expose the entire program. On the 3rd floor, she found what she was looking for, a maintenance room with access to the building's ventilation system. Emily had studied the architectural plans of every building she'd ever operated from, a habit that was about to save her life. She pried open a ventilation grate and crawled into the ductwork, pulling the grate closed behind her just as she heard footsteps entering the stairwell below. The ventilation shaft was barely wide enough for her slender frame, but it connected to the building's central air system and would eventually lead to an exit on the ground floor. Emily moved through the cramped space with careful precision, mindful that any noise would echo through the entire system and alert her pursuers. As she crawled through the darkness, her mind continued analyzing the situation. The Russian operatives weren't trying to kill her. If they were, they would have taken the shot when she was exposed on the roof. They wanted her alive, which meant they either planned to extract information about American intelligence operations, or they wanted to turn her gift to their own purposes. Neither option was acceptable. Emily reached a junction in the ventilation system and paused to get her bearings. Through the metal walls, she could hear the Russians coordinating their search in what sounded like military code words. Professional, organized, and clearly operating under strict orders not to harm her unnecessarily. She continued toward the building's exit, moving as silently as possible through the narrow shaft. Her encrypted phone vibrated with a text message. Friendlies in position. Exit through ground floor maintenance room, south wall. Car waiting in alley behind building. Winters, Emily smiled grimly. Agent Winters had been coordinating her operations for over a year, and the woman never missed a detail. If Winters said there was a car waiting, then Emily's extraction was already planned down to the second. She reached the ground floor ventilation system and located the maintenance room grate. Through the thin metal slats, she could see the empty room beyond. Emily listened carefully for any sounds of movement, then carefully removed the grate and dropped silently to the floor. The maintenance room was cluttered with cleaning supplies and building equipment, but Emily could see a door leading to the building's exterior on the south wall. She moved toward it cautiously, rifle case still slung across her shoulder, every sense alert for potential threats. As she reached for the door handle, she heard the distinctive sound of a rifle bolt being cycled behind her. "Please don't move, Miss Smith," a voice said in heavily accented English. "We have no wish to harm you, but we will if necessary." Emily froze, mind calculating possibilities at lightning speed. The voice was male, Russian accent, positioned approximately 8 feet behind her and slightly to the left, based on the sound reflection off the concrete walls. She could draw and fire before he could react, but killing a foreign operative would create exactly the kind of international incident her handlers wanted to avoid. "You may turn around slowly," the voice continued. "Keep your hands visible." Emily turned carefully, keeping her movements deliberate and non-threatening. The man facing her was tall, probably mid-30s, with the lean build and alert posture. Of Special Forces. He held a compact assault rifle trained on her center mass, but his stance suggested professional discipline rather than nervousness. "My name is Colonel Alexei Volkov, Russian Foreign Intelligence Service," he said calmly. "We know who you are and what you can do, Miss Smith. We have no intention of harming you, but we do need to have a conversation." "I'm not much of a conversationalist," Emily replied, her voice steady despite the situation. "Especially with people who break into buildings and point guns at me." Volkov smiled slightly. "Your reputation for directness appears to be accurate. Very well, I will be direct as well. We know about your abilities, we know about your government work, and we know that certain individuals within your own intelligence community are planning to betray you." Emily's expression didn't change, but her mind sharpened with interest. "That's a pretty dramatic claim from someone who just spent 20 minutes hunting me through a building. The hunt was necessary to extract you before your own people arrived." "To eliminate you," Volkov said. "We intercepted communications indicating that your handler, Agent Winters, has been ordered to terminate you to prevent your abilities from falling into foreign hands." The accusation hit Emily like a physical blow. Agent Winters had been more than just a handler, she had been a mentor, almost a second mother, guiding Emily through the complex world of intelligence work while helping her maintain some semblance of a normal life. "You're lying," Emily said flatly. "I wish I were," Volkov replied. "But we have recordings of the conversations, copies of the classified orders. Your government has decided that you know too much and have become too valuable to risk losing to foreign intelligence services. The plan was to stage your death during today's mission and relocate you to a secure facility where you would work exclusively for American interests for the rest of your life." Emily's mind raced. It would explain the sudden warning from Commander Hayes, the unusual urgency of today's mission, the fact that her extraction route seemed compromised. But it could also be an elaborate deception designed to turn her against her own country. "Even if what you're saying is true," Emily said carefully, "what makes you think I'd trust Russian intelligence over American intelligence?" Volkov lowered his weapon slightly. "Because we are offering you something your own government never will. The truth about your abilities and the choice to use them as you see fit." Before Emily could respond, the maintenance room door exploded inward in a shower of splinters and smoke. 3 figures in tactical gear poured through the opening, weapons raised, moving with the fluid precision of an elite special operations team. "Get down," one of them shouted, and Emily recognized the voice of Agent Winters. Volkov spun toward the new threat, raising his rifle, and Emily realized she was caught in the crossfire between 2 groups who both claimed to have her best interests at heart. In the space of a heartbeat, she had to make a choice that would determine not just her immediate survival, but the entire future course of her life. The neurological anomaly that made Emily Smith the perfect marksman also gave her the ability to process complex situations faster than normal human thought. In the microsecond before the first shots were fired, she analyzed 17 different scenarios, calculated the probable outcomes of each, and made a decision that surprised everyone in the room. Instead of choosing a side, she chose herself. Emily dove toward a stack of metal storage shelves, using them as cover while simultaneously drawing her sidearm with inhuman speed. As bullets began flying between the Russian colonel and the American agents, she focused on creating a third option, one that would give her the information she needed to make an informed decision about who was telling the truth. "Cease fire," she shouted, her voice carrying the unmistakable authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed under pressure. "Everyone stand down now." The shooting stopped, more from surprise than compliance. Emily remained behind cover, sidearm trained on the center of the room, where she could engage any of the combatants if necessary. "Agent Winters," she called out, her voice steady and professional. "I need you to explain why Russian intelligence knows about classified American operations and why they claim you've been ordered to terminate me." There was a moment of silence before Winters replied, her voice tight with stress. "Emily, these people are foreign operatives attempting to compromise American security. We need to extract you immediately." "That's not an answer," Emily said. Sharply, "Colonel Volkov, you claim to have evidence of American plans to betray me. I want to see it." "The evidence is in my tactical pack," Volkov replied. "I am willing to place my weapon on the ground and show you the intercepted communications." Emily's mind worked through the tactical situation. She was outnumbered, outgunned, and caught between two forces with competing agendas. But she had one advantage that neither side could match. Her abilities weren't just about marksmanship. The same neurological enhancement that gave her perfect aim also allowed her to read micro-expressions, body language, and vocal stress patterns with extraordinary accuracy. "Everyone is going to lower their weapons simultaneously," she announced. "Any sudden movements, and I start shooting. Colonel Volkov, place your rifle on the ground and step back 3 paces. Agent Winters, you and your team do the same." There was a tense pause, then the sound of weapons being placed on concrete. Emily waited another moment, then stepped out from behind cover, her sidearm still drawn but not actively targeting anyone. Agent Winters stood near the destroyed doorway with 2 other agents Emily didn't recognize. The woman who had been her handler and mentor for over a year looked exhausted and stressed, her usually perfect appearance disheveled from the tactical entry. Colonel Volkov stood near the south wall, his hands visible, expression calm despite being outnumbered. On the ground beside him was a tactical pack that presumably contained the evidence he claimed to have. "Agent Winters," Emily said carefully, "I've been working with you for over a year. You've never lied to me before. Are you lying to me now?" Winters met her eyes directly. "Emily, I have never lied to you about anything that mattered. I am not lying to you now. These people represent a foreign intelligence service attempting to compromise American operations. We need to get you to safety immediately." Emily studied the woman's face, listening to the subtle stress patterns in her voice, watching for the micro-expressions that would indicate deception. Everything she observed suggested that Agent Winters believed she was telling the truth, but that didn't mean she actually was. "Colonel Volkov," Emily said, turning to face the Russian operative, "show me your evidence." Slowly. Volkov nodded and carefully opened his tactical pack, removing a tablet computer. He activated the device and held it where Emily could see the screen. "These are recordings of communications between your Central Intelligence Agency and your handler's supervisors. They are discussing plans for your termination." Emily moved closer, keeping her weapon ready while examining the screen. The audio files were labeled with dates from the past week, and the voices were speaking English with American accents. She selected one file and listened as voices discussed eliminating the asset before foreign compromise becomes possible. Her blood ran cold as she recognized one of the voices as Commander Hayes, the man who had been coordinating her missions. "This could be fabricated," Emily said, but her voice lacked conviction. The recording sounded authentic, and the tactical details being discussed matched classified information about her operations. "There is more," Volkov said quietly. "Video surveillance of meetings, copies of written orders, financial records of funds allocated for your termination. We have been monitoring American intelligence activities related to individuals with unusual abilities for several years." Emily felt the world shifting beneath her feet. Everything she had believed about her work, her handlers, her purpose, might be a carefully constructed lie designed to manipulate her into compliance. "Agent Winters," she said, without taking her eyes off the Russian colonel, "I want you to contact Commander Hayes right now and ask him directly about plans to terminate me." There was a moment of silence before Winters replied, "Emily, I can't do that. Communications protocols don't allow for, cut the bureaucratic bullshit." Emily snapped, her patience finally breaking. "I just listened to a recording of Hayes discussing my assassination. Either you contact him right now and get a straight answer, or I start assuming that everything Colonel Volkov is telling me is true." Winters hesitated, then activated her encrypted communication device. "Control, this is Mother Bird. I need immediate contact with Shepard." The response came through clearly enough for everyone in the room to hear. "Mother Bird, Shepard is unavailable. You are ordered to complete your current mission and return to base immediately." Emily's enhanced perception caught the subtle stress. Indicators in the radio operator's voice, the slight hesitation that suggested coached responses and predetermined scripts. Combined with the evidence Volkov had presented, it painted a picture that she could no longer ignore. "Agent Winters," Emily said quietly, "how long have you known?" Winters closed her eyes for a moment, and when she opened them, Emily could see the pain and resignation there. "I received the orders 3 days ago. I've been fighting them through every channel available, but the decision came from the highest levels. They believe your abilities make you too valuable and too dangerous to remain unsupervised." Emily felt something break inside her chest, not her heart, exactly, but her faith in the institutions and people she had trusted with her life. "And you were going to do it? You were going to kill me?" "The plan was never to kill you," Winters said desperately. "The orders were to fake your death and relocate you to a secure facility, where you could continue working under complete government control. I was trying to find a way to warn you, to help you escape, but the Russians beat you to it." Emily finished. The tactical situation had shifted completely. Emily was no longer caught between competing forces. She was facing a government conspiracy that viewed her as an asset to be controlled rather than a person with rights and choices. The Russian intelligence service might have their own agenda, but at least they were being honest about their intentions. Emily made her decision. "Agent Winters, I want you and your team to leave, now. Emily, please, now." Emily's voice carried the cold authority of someone who had spent years making life and death decisions. "You have 30 seconds to vacate this building before I decide that you represent a direct threat to my safety." Winters looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Emily's expression stopped her. After a moment, she signaled to her team, and they began moving toward the exit. "This won't end here," Winters said as she reached the doorway. "They'll never stop looking for you." "Let them look," Emily replied. "I'm very good at not being found when I don't want to be." After the American agents left, Emily turned to face Colonel Volkov. "I'm not defecting to Russia. I want that understood." "From the beginning," Volkov nodded. "We are not asking you to betray your country, Miss Smith. We are offering you information about your abilities and the freedom to choose how to use them." "What kind of information?" "Information about others like you," Volkov said quietly. "You are not unique, Miss Smith. There are perhaps a dozen individuals worldwide who possess similar neurological anomalies. Most have been killed or captured by their respective governments. A few have gone underground and managed to remain free." Emily's world shifted again. She had always believed her abilities were unique, a 1 in a billion genetic anomaly that made her special. The idea that there were others like her, that some had been killed by their own governments, changed everything about how she understood her situation. "I want to know everything," she said. "Then we have much to discuss," Volkov replied. "But not here. American reinforcements will arrive soon, and this building is no longer safe." Emily looked around the maintenance room where her life had just changed forever. In the space of 20 minutes, she had gone from being a loyal government asset to being a fugitive from the very people she had trusted most. The transition was jarring, but not entirely unexpected. Her enhanced perception had been picking up subtle inconsistencies in her handler's behavior for months. Where do we go? She asked. Somewhere we can speak freely, Volkov said. I have a safe house prepared, and there are people you need to meet. Emily shouldered her rifle case and checked her sidearm before holstering it. Lead the way, Colonel. But understand I'm trusting you with my life right now. If you betray that trust, I will kill you before you realize you've made a mistake. Volkov smiled grimly. I would expect nothing less from someone with your reputation. They left the building together, moving carefully through shadows toward whatever uncertain future awaited. Emily Smith, the 19-year-old who never missed, was about to discover that hitting a target was the easy part. The hard part was figuring out who deserved to be in her crosshairs. Behind them, the abandoned office building stood silent, its windows reflecting the late afternoon sun like dead eyes. By evening, it would be crawling with federal agents searching for clues about Emily's disappearance. They wouldn't find any. Emily Smith was very good at not leaving traces when she chose to vanish, but somewhere in the building's ventilation system, hidden in a junction she had passed through during her escape, a tiny electronic device continued broadcasting. It wasn't American technology, and it wasn't Russian either. The signal it transmitted was being received by a third party, one that had been watching Emily Smith for much longer than either government suspected. The real game was just beginning. Colonel. Volkov's safe house turned out to be a nondescript two-story home in the Rogers Park neighborhood, the kind of middle-class Chicago residence that blended invisibly into its surroundings. Emily followed him through a back entrance, noting the subtle security modifications that marked it as more than an ordinary house-reinforced door frames, tinted windows that would block surveillance, and what appeared to be signal jamming. Equipment discreetly mounted near the roofline. This is a permanent installation? Emily asked as they entered through a mud room that had been converted into an equipment staging area. Semi-permanent, Volkov replied, gesturing for her to follow him into the main living space. We maintain several properties in major cities, rotated regularly to avoid detection. The interior had been modified extensively. What had once been a family room was now a communications center with multiple computer workstations and encrypted communication equipment. The dining room had been converted into a briefing area with a large table and presentation screens. Everything was professional grade, but designed to look residential from the outside. Impressive operation, Emily said, settling her rifle case against a wall and taking in the scope of the installation. How long have you been running surveillance on American intelligence assets? Several years, Volkov admitted. But not in the way you might think. We are not primarily interested in compromising American operations. We are interested in individuals like you, people with enhanced abilities who might be exploited by their governments. Emily studied his expression, looking for deception indicators. That sounds suspiciously altruistic for foreign intelligence work, perhaps. Or perhaps we understand that individuals with your capabilities represent a resource too, valuable for any single nation to control. Volkov moved to one of the computer workstations and began entering access codes. Tell me, Miss Smith, what do you know about the origins of your abilities? I know they manifested when I was 7. I know they appear to be neurological in nature. And I know the government doctors who studied me couldn't fully explain them. Emily remained standing, ready to move quickly if necessary. Despite Volkov's apparent honesty, she wasn't ready to fully trust anyone yet. The government doctors knew more than they told you, Volkov said, accessing files on his computer. Your abilities are not a natural mutation. They are the result of a classified American research program called Project Prometheus, which was conducted in the 1990s. Emily's blood chilled. What kind of research program? Experimental enhancement of human cognitive and physical capabilities. Through targeted genetic modification, Volkov explained, turning the computer screen so she could see it. The program was designed to create individuals with superhuman abilities for military and intelligence applications. The screen showed what appeared to be classified documents with heavy black redactions, but enough text was visible to make Emily's stomach turn. She could see references to genetic enhancement protocols, neural pathway modification, and enhanced human weapons systems. "That's impossible," Emily said, but her voice lacked conviction. "My parents would have known. If I'd been part of some government experiment, would they?" Volkov asked quietly. The modifications were performed in utero, introduced through what appeared to be routine prenatal medical care. The mothers never knew their children were being enhanced. Emily sank into a chair, the implications hitting her like a physical blow. If Volkov was telling the truth, then her entire life had been a lie. Her abilities weren't a gift or a genetic anomaly. They were the result of government experimentation on unwilling subjects. "How many?" she asked. "Based on our research, approximately 50 children were enhanced through Project Prometheus. Most of the modifications failed or resulted in severe developmental problems. Perhaps a dozen individuals like you survived to adulthood with functional enhancements." "And what happened to them?" Volkov's expression darkened. "Most were recruited into government service just as you were. Several died during training or operational missions. 3 were terminated when they began asking too many questions about their origins." Emily felt sick. The idea that she was one of a group of enhanced individuals, created by her own government and then manipulated into service, recontextualized everything about her life. Her parents, her childhood, her sense of identity, all of it built on a foundation of deception. "I want to see more evidence," she said. Volkov nodded and accessed additional files. The documents that appeared on screen were clearly authentic government letterhead, classification markings, technical specifications that matched what Emily knew about her own abilities. She saw references to subject PS-47 who matched her birth date and location. "Ps-47, she said quietly. "Prometheus Subject 47. That was your designation in the program," Volkov confirmed. "Emily Smith was the identity created for you after the enhancements took hold successfully." Emily stood up abruptly and began pacing, her enhanced nervous system processing the information at superhuman speed, while her emotional reactions struggled to keep up. She had spent her entire life believing she was special, unique, gifted. Instead, she was a manufactured weapon, created by people who saw her as a tool rather than a human being. "Where are the others?" she asked. "The other survivors?" "That is more complicated," Volkov said. "Some remain in government service, unaware of their true origins. Others have discovered the truth and gone underground. A few have been eliminated by cleanup operations designed to remove evidence of the program." "Cleanup operations?" "Project Prometheus was officially terminated in 2003 when congressional oversight began asking difficult questions. Since then, there have been systematic efforts to eliminate all traces of the program, including the enhanced individuals it created." Emily's mind flashed back to Agent Winter's orders to fake her death and relocate her to a secure facility. It wasn't about protecting a valuable asset, it was about controlling evidence of an illegal human experimentation program. "So what's your angle in all this?" Emily asked, turning to face Volkov directly. "Russian intelligence doesn't usually run humanitarian operations to protect American citizens. Our interest is both strategic and practical," Volkov replied. "Individuals with your capabilities represent a significant intelligence asset. But more importantly, the existence of successful human enhancement programs changes the balance of power between nations. We need to understand the technology and ensure that Russia's not disadvantaged in this new form of warfare. You want to create enhanced soldiers of your own. We want to survive in a world where enhanced soldiers already exist," Volkov corrected. "The Americans have had operational enhanced individuals for over a decade. The Chinese have their own program, though less successful. Several European nations are conducting research. Russia cannot afford to be left behind. Emily appreciated his honesty, even if she didn't like the implications. And you think I'm going to help you catch up? I think you deserve to know the truth about what was done to you, and I think you deserve the right to choose what to do with that information, Volkov said. Whether you help us or not is entirely your decision. Before Emily could respond, an alarm chimed from one of the computer workstations. Volkov moved quickly to check the alert, his expression growing serious. What is it? Emily asked. Motion. Sensors are detecting vehicles approaching the perimeter, Volkov said, accessing security cameras that showed the neighborhood from multiple angles. 3 unmarked sedans moving in coordinated formation. Emily moved to look at the screens and felt her heart sink. The vehicles were clearly government issue, and their approach pattern suggested tactical teams preparing to surround the safe house. How did they find us so quickly? She asked. Volkov was typing rapidly, accessing multiple systems simultaneously. I am not certain. Either our security was compromised or... He stopped suddenly, his face going pale. Or what, or you, have been equipped with some form of tracking technology that we did not detect. Emily's blood ran cold. The idea that she might be unknowingly broadcasting her location made perfect sense from an operational security standpoint. If her handlers had been planning to betray her, they would want to ensure she couldn't simply disappear. What kind of tracking technology? Subcutaneous implants most likely, Volkov said, continuing to monitor the approaching vehicles. Small enough to be inserted during routine medical procedures, sophisticated enough to transmit location data without being detectable by standard scanning equipment. Emily thought back to her regular medical checkups, the routine blood work, and physical examinations that had been part of her government service. Any of those procedures could have been used to implant tracking devices without her knowledge. Can you scan for implants? She asked. Not with the equipment we have here, Volkov said. We have perhaps 3 minutes before those vehicles reach optimal assault positions. We need to evacuate immediately. Emily's mind raced through the tactical situation. If she was carrying tracking devices, then nowhere would be safe until they were removed. But medical procedures to remove subcutaneous implants would require time and specialized equipment, neither of which were available in the current situation. There's another option, she said. We don't run. We end this now. Volkov looked at her in surprise. Miss Smith, there are at least 12 federal agents in those vehicles, possibly more. Even with your abilities, my abilities include more than just marksmanship, Emily interrupted, moving to retrieve her rifle case. I can disable their vehicles without killing anyone. Create enough confusion to extract information from whoever's in charge, and send a message that hunting me is going to be more trouble than it's worth. Emily opened her rifle case and began assembling her weapon with practiced efficiency. The custom rifle was a work of art, built specifically for her enhanced capabilities with modifications that would be useless to anyone else. The scope was calibrated to compensate for her superhuman visual processing. The trigger mechanism was adjusted for her perfect muscle control, and the barrel was designed to take advantage of her ability to compensate for environmental factors. In real time, what exactly are you planning? Volkov asked, though he was already moving to gather essential equipment and documents. I'm planning to have a conversation with whoever sent these people, Emily said, checking her ammunition, and selecting specialized rounds designed for disabling vehicles rather than killing personnel. But first, I'm going to demonstrate why hunting enhanced individuals is a bad strategic decision. Through the security monitors, they could see the federal vehicles taking positions around the safe house. Emily counted 15 visible agents, all equipped with tactical gear and assault weapons. Professional, well-coordinated, but operating under the assumption that they were dealing with a normal fugitive rather than someone with superhuman capabilities. Emily moved to a second-floor window, that provided a clear line of sight to the command vehicle, a black SUV parked approximately 300 yards away. Through her rifle scope, she could see figures inside coordinating the operation via radio equipment. "Are you certain about this approach?" Volkov asked from behind her. "Once you engage, there will be no possibility of peaceful resolution." "There was never going to be a peaceful resolution," Emily replied, settling into a shooting position with the fluid precision of someone who had done this thousands of times. "They're not here to arrest me. They're here to eliminate a security risk." Emily's enhanced perception allowed her to process multiple variables simultaneously. Wind speed and direction, ambient temperature, humidity, the exact distance to each target, the ballistic characteristics of her ammunition, the probable reaction time of the federal agents, all of it calculated and compensated for in the space of a heartbeat. She squeezed the trigger. The specialized round struck the command vehicle's engine block with surgical precision, disabling the engine instantly while sending a shower of sparks into the air. Before the agents could react, Emily had already chambered a second round and fired again, this time targeting the radio antenna array on the vehicle's roof. The federal agents scattered for cover, but Emily was already engaging her next targets. 2 more vehicles were disabled in rapid succession, their engines destroyed by rounds placed with impossible accuracy. She continued firing, targeting radio equipment, tactical gear, and weapon systems while carefully avoiding any shots that might cause human casualties. In the space of 30 seconds, Emily had transformed a coordinated federal operation into chaos. The agents were pinned down behind disabled vehicles with no working communications, facing an adversary they couldn't see who was demonstrating capabilities far beyond normal human limits. Emily keyed her throat microphone, broadcasting on the tactical frequency the federal agents were using. "This is Emily Smith. I know you can hear me on your backup radios. I want to speak with whoever's in charge of this operation. You have 60 seconds to respond before I start targeting personal equipment." There was a brief pause before a voice responded. "This is Agent Harrison, FBI Enhanced Assets Division. We are here under federal authority to apprehend a fugitive suspected of treason and espionage." "Agent Harrison, I'm going to explain something very clearly," Emily replied, already acquiring her next target through the rifle scope. "I am not a fugitive, I am not a traitor, and I am not going to be apprehended. I am someone who has discovered that her own government has been lying to her for her entire life. Miss Smith, if you surrender peacefully, we can discuss any grievances you may have through proper channels." Emily fired another round, this time targeting Agent Harrison's tactical vest where he crouched behind the disabled command vehicle. The round struck the Kevlar armor with perfect precision, delivering enough kinetic energy to knock him backward, but not enough to cause serious injury. "Agent Harrison, that shot was a demonstration. I could have placed it 6 inches higher and ended this conversation permanently. Instead, I'm giving you an opportunity to be honest about why you're really here. We have orders to bring you in for debriefing regarding possible security breaches," Harrison replied, his voice tight with pain from the impact. "Try again," Emily said, acquiring a new target. "I know about Project Prometheus. I know about the cleanup operations. I know that I'm not the first enhanced individual you've been sent to eliminate." This time there was a longer pause before Harrison responded. When he did, his voice had changed, becoming more cautious and respectful. "Miss Smith, you clearly have access to classified information. If we could speak face to face, perhaps we can reach an understanding." "I'm comfortable with our current communication arrangement," Emily replied. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to contact your superiors and tell them that Emily Smith is no longer available for elimination or capture. You're going to inform them that any future attempts to apprehend me will result in significant casualties among federal personnel. And you're going to recommend that they reconsider their approach to managing enhanced individuals. I don't have The authority to make those kinds of agreements. Then get someone who does, Emily said. You have my communications frequency. When someone with actual decision-making authority wants to talk, they know how to reach me. Emily began disassembling her rifle with the same efficiency she had used to assemble it. The federal agents were still pinned down behind their disabled vehicles, but they were no longer an immediate threat. She had made her point clearly. Hunting Emily Smith was going to be expensive, dangerous, and ultimately unsuccessful. Impressive display, Volkov said as Emily packed her equipment. Though you have now made it impossible for either of us to operate safely in the United States. I was never going to be safe in the United States, Emily replied. At least now they know. The cost of trying to eliminate me. They gathered their essential equipment and prepared to leave the safe house through a back exit that led to an underground tunnel system, a precaution that spoke to the sophistication of Russian intelligence operations in American cities. As they moved through the tunnel, Emily's mind was already working on the next phase of her situation. She had bought herself time and demonstrated her capabilities, but she was now a declared enemy of the American intelligence establishment. Going home was no longer an option, and neither was the life she had known. Where do we go now? She asked. There is a facility where you can meet others like yourself, Volkov said. Individuals who have discovered the truth about their origins and chosen to operate independently of government control. Other enhanced individuals? 3 others currently, with a 4th who may be joining soon if our intelligence is accurate. Volkov explained as they reached the end of the tunnel system. They have formed what you might call a mutual support network, sharing information and resources while avoiding government capture. Emily considered this. The idea of meeting others with abilities like her own was both appealing and frightening. For her entire life, she had believed she was unique, special, alone in her capabilities. Discovering that she was one of several government-created enhanced individuals changed everything about how she understood herself and her place in the world. What are their abilities? She asked. Varied. One has enhanced physical strength and speed. Another has extraordinary mathematical and analytical capabilities. The third has what can only be described as enhanced intuition, the ability to predict human behavior and events with uncanny accuracy. They emerged from the tunnel system into an underground parking garage where a nondescript sedan waited. Volkov checked the area carefully before signaling for Emily to follow him to the vehicle. And they're willing to meet with me? They are eager to meet with you, Volkov said as they got into the car. Your capabilities are among the most pronounced we have encountered, and your recent actions against federal agents have made you something of a legend in their community. As they drove away from the safe house, Emily could see federal vehicles still surrounding the area in the distance. Her message had been delivered, but the response remained to be seen. She had declared war on the people who had created and then betrayed her, and there would be consequences. But for the first time since discovering the truth about her origins, Emily felt like she might not be facing those consequences alone. The facility Volkov described was located in an abandoned industrial complex outside the city, the kind of place that had been left behind by economic changes and provided perfect cover for clandestine operations. As they approached the facility, Emily could see that it had been extensively modified with security systems and defensive measures. This is a permanent installation? She asked. Semi-permanent, like the safe house, Volkov replied. But better. Defended and more self-sufficient. The individuals you are about to meet have been living here for several months, while we gather intelligence about other enhanced individuals. Emily felt a mixture of anticipation and apprehension as they parked near the facility's entrance. She was about to meet people who shared her unique nature, who had lived through similar experiences of government manipulation and betrayal. But she was also entering a world that operated completely outside the legal and social structures she had known her entire life. One more question, she said as they prepared to enter the facility. "What do you ultimately want from us? From the enhanced individuals?" Volkov paused at the entrance and turned to face her directly. "We want to prevent a war, Miss Smith. A war between enhanced individuals and the governments that created them. A war that could devastate both sides and change the nature of human civilization forever." Emily looked at him carefully, reading his expressions and vocal stress patterns for signs of deception. What she found was genuine concern, even fear, about possibilities that extended far beyond national intelligence interests. "You think that war is inevitable?" "I think it becomes more likely every day," Volkov replied. "Governments continue to create enhanced individuals while simultaneously planning to eliminate them when they become inconvenient. Enhanced individuals are discovering the truth about their origins and beginning to organize outside government control. The conditions for conflict are developing rapidly." Emily nodded slowly. The implications were staggering, but they made logical sense. If there were dozens of enhanced individuals worldwide, and if governments were systematically betraying and eliminating them, then conflict was indeed inevitable. The only question was whether that conflict could be managed or whether it would spiral into something much more destructive. "Then let's meet the others," she said. "It sounds like we have a lot to discuss." They entered the facility together, and Emily Smith stepped across the threshold into a world she had never imagined, a world where the enhanced individuals created by government programs were beginning to chart their own course independent of the nations that had made them and the handlers who had controlled them. Behind them, in the city they had left, federal agents were still processing the aftermath of Emily's demonstration. Agent Harrison was filling out reports that would be classified at the highest levels, describing capabilities that challenged everything the intelligence community thought they knew about enhanced individuals. And in a secure facility in Washington, D.C., officials were beginning to realize that their careful plans for managing enhanced assets had just collapsed completely. Emily Smith was no longer under their control, and she had demonstrated that attempting to control her by force was both dangerous and ineffective. The war Colonel Volkov had warned about was one step closer to becoming reality. The interior of the facility was unlike anything Emily had expected. What had once been a manufacturing floor had been converted into a sophisticated living and training complex, with individual quarters, common areas, and specialized equipment areas arranged around a central coordination center. The space felt more like a high-tech commune than a military installation, designed for people who needed both privacy and community. "Welcome to Haven," Volkov said as they entered the main area. "It's what the residents have chosen to call this place." Emily looked around with her enhanced perception, automatically cataloging exit routes, defensive positions, and potential threats. The facility had been designed by people who understood security, but it also showed evidence of personal touches. That suggested the enhanced individuals living here had been given significant freedom to shape their environment. "They're waiting in the main conference room," Volkov said, leading her through a corridor lined with what appeared to be individual living quarters. "I should warn you, they are all aware of your reputation and your recent confrontation with federal agents. You have become something of a symbol in their community." "A symbol of what?" "Of the possibility that enhanced individuals can successfully resist government control," Volkov replied. "Until today, most of them believed that open confrontation with their creators would be suicide. Your demonstration has changed that perception." They reached a conference room where 3 people were waiting around a circular table. Emily's enhanced senses immediately began analyzing them, processing details about their posture, expressions, and physical characteristics with superhuman speed. The first person to stand was a woman in her mid-20s with shoulder-length black hair and the lean, muscular build of someone accustomed to intensive physical training. Her movements were fluid and controlled, suggesting enhanced coordination or strength. Dr. Maya Chun, Volkov said by way of introduction. Enhanced physical capabilities, former Navy SEAL before her enhancements manifested. Dr. Chun extended her hand, and Emily immediately noticed that her grip was carefully controlled, strong enough to demonstrate capability, but not so strong as to be threatening. Miss Smith, it's an honor to meet you. We've all heard about your abilities. The second person was a man who appeared to be in his early 30s, tall and thin with the pale complexion of someone who spent most of his time indoors. His eyes moved constantly, taking in details with an intensity that suggested enhanced cognitive processing. Marcus Webb, Volkov continued, enhanced analytical and mathematical capabilities. Former NSA cryptographer before he discovered the truth about his origins. Webb nodded but didn't offer to shake hands. Your tactical approach to the federal agents was mathematically elegant, he said. Minimal force applied at maximum strategic impact. The probability calculations alone must have been extraordinary. The third person was a woman who looked to be in her late 20s, with auburn hair similar to Emily's own, and an expression that suggested she was constantly evaluating and predicting the behavior of everyone around her. She stood with the confident posture of someone accustomed to being right about her assessments. Sarah Martinez, Volkov concluded. Enhanced intuitive capabilities, including the ability to predict human behavior and future events with remarkable accuracy. Former FBI behavioral analyst. Martinez stepped forward, studying Emily with obvious interest. You're going to ask 3 questions in the next 30 seconds, she said with a slight smile. You want to know how we discovered our origins, whether we trust Colonel Volkov completely, and what our long-term plans are. Emily blinked in surprise. Martinez had predicted her thoughts with unnerving accuracy. Enhanced intuition, Dr. Chun explained. Sarah can read behavioral patterns and predict actions better than anyone I've ever seen. It's uncanny. It's also occasionally annoying, Martinez said with a grin, but useful for staying ahead of government tracking efforts. Emily took a seat at the table, feeling a strange mix of relief and disorientation. For the first time in her life, she was surrounded by people who might actually understand what it was like to possess abilities beyond normal human limits. How did you all discover the truth about Project Prometheus? She asked, choosing the first of the questions Martinez had predicted. Different ways, Dr. Chun replied. I began having memory fragments during intense combat situations, flashes of being in a laboratory as a child, medical procedures I couldn't consciously remember. When I started investigating, I found medical records that had been sealed under national security classifications. I discovered inconsistencies in my educational records, Webb said. Mathematical concepts I remembered understanding as a child that shouldn't have been accessible to someone my age. When I analyzed the data patterns, I found evidence of cognitive enhancement procedures that had been performed during my early childhood. I predicted it, Martinez said simply. My intuitive abilities kept suggesting that my past contained hidden information. I followed those predictions until I uncovered documents about Project Prometheus and my designation as Subject PS-23. Emily felt a chill. PS-23. I was PS-47. How many of us are there? That we know of? Perhaps 8 or 9 still alive, Dr. Chun said. We've been trying to locate others, but most are either still under government control or have been eliminated by cleanup operations. Which brings us to your second question, Martinez said. Do we trust Colonel Volkov completely? The answer is complicated. We trust him more than we trust our respective governments, but we maintain our own security protocols and independent verification of intelligence. Volkov nodded approvingly. A wise approach. Trust should always be earned and verified, not assumed. And our long-term plans, Webb said, are still being formulated. We know we cannot simply hide forever. Government agencies are becoming more sophisticated in their tracking methods, and public awareness of enhanced individuals is beginning to develop. Emily processed this information rapidly. Public awareness? There have been incidents, Dr. Chun explained. Enhanced individuals whose abilities manifested in public situations, government operations that couldn't be completely covered up, leaked documents and videos. The existence of people like us is becoming harder to deny. Which creates both opportunities and dangers, Martinez added. Public awareness might provide protection from government elimination programs, but it could also lead to fear, persecution, or attempts to exploit our abilities by non-government actors. Emily's mind began working through the strategic implications. She had been so focused on her immediate situation that she hadn't considered the broader context of how enhanced individuals fit into society as a whole. What kind of incidents? She asked. Webb accessed a tablet computer and began displaying news reports and video footage. 3 months ago, an enhanced individual in Los Angeles prevented a terrorist attack by predicting the location and timing with impossible accuracy. The incident was officially explained as excellent police work, but witness statements described capabilities that exceeded normal human limits. 6 weeks ago, Dr. Chun continued, an enhanced individual in Berlin single-handedly stopped an armed robbery, displaying physical strength and speed that were captured on multiple security cameras. The footage was classified by German authorities, but copies leaked online. And 2 weeks ago, Martinez concluded, an enhanced individual in Tokyo apparently had a public breakdown, displaying psychokinetic abilities that affected electronic systems throughout several city blocks. The incident was officially blamed on solar flare activity, but eyewitness accounts describe something very different. Emily studied the footage and reports with growing concern. If enhanced individuals were beginning to manifest publicly, and if their abilities were becoming impossible to hide or explain away, then the careful balance of secrecy that had protected them was beginning to collapse. How are governments responding to public incidents? She asked. Increased surveillance, expanded elimination programs, and accelerated research into countermeasures, Volkov said. Most intelligence agencies now have dedicated units for tracking and managing enhanced individuals. Your own government's enhanced Assets Division has tripled in size over the past year. Enhanced Assets Division, Emily repeated. Agent Harrison mentioned that. Your confrontation with them will have consequences, Martinez said, her expression growing serious. I can predict with high confidence that government agencies will now prioritize enhanced individual containment over enhanced individual utilization. Meaning? They've decided we're more dangerous as potential enemies than we are valuable as potential assets, Dr. Chun explained. The elimination programs are going to accelerate. Emily felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. Her decision to resist capture hadn't just affected her own situation. It had potentially escalated the conflict between enhanced individuals and the governments that created them. Then we need to be proactive, she said. We can't just hide and hope they ignore us. What are you suggesting? Webb asked. Emily's mind was already working through possibilities, calculating strategies and outcomes with superhuman speed. I'm suggesting we stop reacting to government actions and start shaping the situation ourselves. That sounds dangerously close to declaring war, Dr. Chun said. The war was declared when they decided to eliminate us rather than work with us, Emily replied. We're just choosing to fight back instead of being victims. Martinez studied Emily's expression carefully. You have a plan. The beginning of one, Emily admitted. But it involves more than just the 4 of us. We need to locate and contact other enhanced individuals before the government does. We need to develop our own intelligence networks and resource bases. And we need to start demonstrating to the public that we're people with rights and choices. not weapons to be controlled or threats to be eliminated. That's a substantial undertaking, Webb said. The logistical requirements alone would be enormous, which is why we need to start building alliances with people who have resources and capabilities we lack, Emily said, glancing at Volkov. People who understand intelligence work and can help us operate effectively. You're talking about fundamental changes to how enhanced individuals interact with society, Dr. Chun said. Changes that could have unpredictable consequences. The consequences of doing nothing are becoming predictable, Emily replied. More elimination programs, more public incidents, more enhanced individuals being killed or captured. Eventually, the situation will escalate into open conflict anyway. At least if we're proactive, we can try to shape how that conflict develops. The room fell silent as the implications of Emily's words settled over the group. She was proposing nothing less than the formation of an organized resistance movement by enhanced individuals against the governments that had created them. There's something else you need to know, Martinez said quietly. Something we haven't told Colonel Volkov. Yet, Volkov's expression sharpened with interest. What kind of something? We've been contacted by enhanced individuals in other countries, Dr. Chun explained. Germany, Japan, the United Kingdom, Australia. The phenomenon isn't limited to American programs. How many countries? Emily asked. At least 12 that we know of, Webb said. Possibly more. Enhancement programs appear to have been conducted by most major military powers over the past 20 years. Emily's understanding of the situation expanded dramatically. If enhanced individuals existed in multiple countries, all facing similar government betrayal and elimination programs, then the potential for conflict was much larger than she had imagined. Are they organizing? She asked. Beginning to, Martinez said. Slowly, carefully, but yes. There are informal networks developing, intelligence sharing, mutual support agreements. Which means, Emily said, that what we decide to do here could affect enhanced individuals worldwide. Volkov had been listening to this conversation with growing alarm. You are describing the potential for international conflict involving enhanced individuals from multiple nations. The strategic implications are staggering. The strategic implications were staggering the moment governments decided to create us, Dr. Chun replied. We're just beginning to understand what they set in motion. Emily stood and began pacing, her enhanced nervous system processing information at lightning speed while she worked through the complex strategic situation they were facing. Enhanced individuals in multiple countries, government elimination programs, public incidents threatening secrecy, informal resistance networks. Beginning to develop all of it pointed toward an inevitable confrontation that could reshape international relations and human society. We need more information before we make any major decisions, she said finally. About other enhanced individuals, about government capabilities, about public sentiment. We need intelligence networks and communication systems that can operate independently of government surveillance. All of which takes time and resources we may not have, Webb pointed out. Government agencies are accelerating their operations. Public incidents are increasing in frequency. The timeline for any organized response is compressing rapidly. Emily turned to face the group, her expression reflecting the weight of the decision she was contemplating. Then we accelerate our own timeline. We stop waiting for perfect information and start taking calculated risks. What kind of calculated risks? Dr. Chun asked. Emily's mind had been working through possibilities, evaluating options with the same precision she used for impossible shots. Now she was ready to propose an approach that would change everything. We start by rescuing other enhanced individuals before the government can eliminate them, she said. We demonstrate our capabilities publicly in ways that generate sympathy rather than fear. We build alliances with journalists, civil rights organizations, and international bodies. That can provide political protection. And we prepare for the possibility that despite our best efforts, this situation could escalate into open conflict. The room was silent again as everyone processed the scope of what Emily was proposing. She was outlining nothing less than a comprehensive campaign to fundamentally alter the relationship between enhanced individuals and the governments of the world. That's not just resistance, Martinez said. That's revolution. Maybe, Emily replied. But it might be the only way to ensure that people like us have a future that involves more than being eliminated by the people who created us. Volkov stood and moved to a wall map displaying locations around the world. If you proceed with this approach, you will need more than just enhanced abilities. You will need intelligence support, financial resources, safe houses, communication networks, and probably military equipment. Are you offering to help? Emily asked. I am offering to present your situation to people who might be willing to help, Volkov replied carefully. But you should understand that such support would come with expectations and obligations. Emily nodded. She had expected as much. Alliances always came with costs, and the Russian intelligence services would undoubtedly want something in return for their assistance. What kind of expectations? Intelligence sharing about American enhancement programs, technical information about your abilities, possibly operational support for Russian intelligence activities, Volkov said. Nothing that would require you to betray your personal values, but cooperation that would be mutually beneficial. Dr. Chun, Webb, and Martinez exchanged glances. They were being offered resources they desperately needed, but at the cost of becoming involved in international intelligence operations. We need time to discuss this among ourselves, Dr. Chun said. Of course, Volkov replied. But I should mention that time may be more limited than you realize. Our intelligence indicates that American agencies are planning a coordinated operation to locate and apprehend all known enhanced individuals within the next 72 hours. Emily's blood ran cold. All of them? Every enhanced individual on their target list, Volkov confirmed. Your confrontation with the federal agents appears to have convinced them that enhanced individuals represent an unacceptable security risk. The timeline Emily had been calculating just compressed dramatically. Instead of having weeks or months to develop their response, they had less than 3 days before government agencies launched what amounted to a systematic elimination program. Then we don't have time for extended discussions, she said. We need to start rescue operations immediately. Emily, Dr. Chun said carefully, we're talking about 4 people against the combined intelligence agencies of the United States government. 4 people with superhuman abilities, Emily corrected, and potentially powerful allies who understand intelligence work. She turned to face Volkov directly. Colonel, I need to know right now, are you willing to provide immediate operational support for rescue missions targeting enhanced individuals who are about to be eliminated? Volkov met her gaze steadily. Miss Smith, if you are willing to accept the obligations that come with such support, then yes. We are prepared to provide operational assistance for rescue missions. Emily looked around the room at the 3 other enhanced individuals who had become her allies and possibly her family. They were all looking at her with expressions that mixed fear, hope, and determination. Then we're committed, she said. We start rescue operations tonight. The decision was made. Emily Smith, the 19-year-old who never missed, was about to lead the first organized resistance movement by enhanced individuals against the governments that had created them. The war Colonel Volkov had warned about was no longer a possibility, it was beginning. And Emily was going to make sure her side was ready for it. The first rescue mission began at 0200 hours with intelligence that Subject PS-12, designation, David Park, was being held at a classified detention facility 40 miles outside Chicago. Park had been a computer security expert for the Department of Defense. before his enhanced cognitive abilities manifested as an almost supernatural understanding of complex systems and network vulnerabilities. When he began asking questions about inconsistencies in his childhood medical records, he had been arrested on fabricated charges of espionage and disappeared into the black site system. Emily crouched on a ridge overlooking the facility, studying the security arrangements through her rifle scope. The detention center was designed to be invisible, a collection of low buildings that looked like an industrial complex from the outside. But Emily's enhanced vision could see details that revealed its true nature. Guard towers with sophisticated surveillance equipment, razor wire disguised as decorative fencing, and movement patterns that indicated far more security personnel than would be needed for a simple industrial site. Target is in Building C, 3rd floor, Room 12, Martinez whispered through their secure communications system. I can sense his emotional pattern from here, fear, anger, but still mentally intact. Martinez's enhanced intuition allowed her to detect and analyze human emotional states from considerable distances, making her invaluable for determining the condition of rescue targets before extraction attempts. Security response time? Emily asked. Based on their patrol patterns and communication protocols, we have approximately 4 minutes from initial alarm to full mobilization. Webb replied from his position monitoring electronic surveillance systems. But their response will be complicated by the countermeasures I've introduced to their network. Webb's enhanced analytical capabilities had allowed him to penetrate the facility's computer systems and introduce carefully designed glitches that would create confusion without triggering immediate security alerts. Physical defenses? Emily continued. 12 guards on active patrol, 4 more in the central monitoring station. Dr. Chun reported from her position closer to the facility perimeter. Standard tactical training, but no indication they're prepared for enhanced individual capabilities. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Webb would create electronic confusion to mask their approach. Dr. Chun would neutralize guards through non-lethal takedowns. Emily would provide overwatch and precision support, and Martinez would guide them to the target using her ability to track human emotional patterns. Russian support team status? Emily asked. In position at Extraction Point Alpha, Volkov's voice came through their communications. 2 vehicles ready for immediate departure. Medical support standing by in case the target requires treatment. Emily took a deep breath and settled into shooting position. All teams, execute on my mark. 3.2.1 mark. The operation began with Webb triggering carefully planned system failures throughout the facility. Security cameras flickered and displayed false images. Electronic door locks began cycling randomly, and communication systems experienced intermittent failures that would be attributed to equipment malfunctions. Dr. Chun moved through the facility's perimeter like a ghost, her enhanced physical capabilities allowing her to neutralize guards with precise non-lethal strikes before they could raise alarms. Her movements were so fast and quiet that the guards simply seemed to collapse unconsciously at their posts. Emily tracked the operation through her scope, ready to provide support if the situation escalated beyond non-lethal parameters. Her rifle was loaded with specialized ammunition designed to disable vehicles, destroy equipment, or incapacitate personnel without causing permanent injury. Target located, Martinez reported as she and Dr. Chun reached Building C. David Park, conscious and responsive, no signs of torture or serious mistreatment. He's been kept in isolation for approximately 2 weeks. Emily watched through her scope as the team moved through the facility with military precision. Webb's electronic countermeasures were creating exactly the kind of controlled chaos they needed, enough confusion to mask their presence, but not so much disruption that guards would immediately assume hostile action. Extraction in progress, Dr. Chun reported. Target is mobile and cooperative. But as the team began moving toward the extraction point, Emily noticed movement that didn't match normal security patterns. Through her scope, she could see additional personnel taking positions around the facility, perimeter personnel, who moved with the disciplined precision of Special Forces operators. "We have a problem," she announced. Additional hostile forces, approximately 20 personnel, deploying in containment positions around the facility. Emily's enhanced perception allowed her to analyze the tactical situation in milliseconds. The new arrivals weren't regular facility guards, they were federal tactical teams, possibly Enhanced Assets Division operatives, and they were positioning themselves to prevent extraction rather than to defend the facility. "It's a trap," Martinez sighed, her voice tight with realization. "They knew we were coming." Emily's mind raced through possibilities. Either their communications had been compromised, or someone in their group was providing information to federal agencies, or the government had developed predictive capabilities that allowed them to anticipate rescue operations. "Webb, can you identify how they detected our operation?" she asked. "Negative," Webb replied. His voice strained with concentration as he tried to maintain electronic countermeasures while analyzing security breaches. "Their deployment began before we started our approach. They were already in position." Emily felt a chill of understanding. The federal teams hadn't detected their current operation. They had predicted it based on behavioral analysis and strategic planning. Someone in the government had anticipated that enhanced individuals would attempt rescue missions and had prepared accordingly. "All teams, the extraction point is compromised," she announced, switching to Contingency Plan Baker. Contingency Plan Baker involved fighting their way out through superior firepower and enhanced capabilities. It was riskier, more violent, and more likely to result in casualties. But it might be their only option for extracting David Park before he was transferred to a more secure location. Emily began acquiring targets through her rifle scope, identifying federal agents who posed the greatest threat to her team's escape route. But as she prepared to fire the first shot that would escalate the situation into open combat, her communications crackled with an unexpected voice. "This is Agent Harrison, Enhanced Assets Division. I'm speaking directly to Emily Smith." Emily's finger hesitated on the trigger. Harrison was the federal agent she had confronted during her escape from the Chicago safe house. His presence at this operation suggested coordination at the highest levels. "I'm listening," she replied. "Miss Smith, we know you're conducting a rescue operation for David Park. We also know that you have 3 other enhanced individuals with you, supported by Russian intelligence assets. This facility is surrounded by federal tactical teams with specific training for enhanced individual containment." Emily's enhanced perception analyzed Harrison's voice for stress patterns and deception indicators. What she found was professional, calm combined with genuine concern. He was telling the truth about their tactical situation, but there was something else he wasn't saying. "Get to the point, Agent Harrison." "The point is that we don't want to kill any of you," Harrison said. "Despite what you may believe, the government's preferred approach is negotiation and cooperation, not elimination. Tell that to the enhanced individuals who have been terminated by cleanup operations," Emily replied. "Those operations were conducted without proper authorization," Harrison said. "There have been policy changes since your demonstration in Chicago. Changes that create new possibilities for enhanced individuals who are willing to work with federal agencies." Emily's enhanced perception detected the subtle vocal patterns that indicated Harrison was telling the truth, at least about policy changes within the government. But his words also suggested something more complex than simple negotiation. "What kind of policy changes?" she asked, maintaining her rifle position while her team held their extraction positions. "The kind that recognize enhanced individuals as strategic assets to be partnered with, not eliminated," Harrison replied. "There are people in Washington who understand that hunting you is both morally wrong and strategically stupid." Through her scope, Emily could see Harrison emerging from cover with his hands raised, demonstrating his willingness to negotiate in good faith. But she also noticed that the federal tactical teams maintained their containment positions. Your tactical teams don't seem to have received that message, Emily observed. Their insurance, Harrison admitted. There are still factions within the intelligence community that view enhanced individuals as unacceptable security risks. This operation represents a compromise between those factions. Martinez's voice came through their communications. Emily. His emotional pattern suggests he's being truthful, but there's something he's not telling us. Something that's causing him significant stress. Emily's mind worked through the tactical and political implications. If there were competing factions within the government, some favoring cooperation and others favoring elimination, then the situation was more complex than a simple us versus them conflict. Agent Harrison, she said, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want a direct answer. Are there enhanced individuals working with federal agencies voluntarily? There was a pause before Harrison responded. Yes, 3 enhanced individuals have accepted partnership agreements that provide them with resources, legal protection, and operational autonomy in exchange for consultation and occasional mission support. Emily felt her world shift again. If some enhanced individuals were successfully working with the government, then elimination might not be inevitable. But it also meant the enhanced individual community was already fracturing along lines of cooperation versus resistance. What about David Park? Dr. Chun asked. What happens to him if we agree to negotiate? David Park would be released immediately and offered the same partnership agreement, Harrison replied. No charges, no detention, complete freedom to accept or decline government cooperation. Emily's enhanced analytical capabilities processed the offer at superhuman speed. On one hand, negotiation might prevent immediate bloodshed and provide protection for enhanced individuals willing to work within the system. On the other hand, it might also be a divide-and-conquer strategy designed to split the enhanced community and eliminate organized resistance. I need to consult with my team, Emily announced. You have 5 minutes, Harrison replied. After that, the tactical situation becomes more complicated. Emily switched to a secure team frequency. Team assessment. Is this a legitimate offer or a trap? Both, Martinez replied immediately. Harrison believes he's making a legitimate offer, but there are elements of this situation that he doesn't fully understand himself. The tactical deployment suggests they're prepared for both negotiation and forced containment, Dr. Chun added. They want cooperation, but they'll settle for capture if necessary. Electronic intelligence indicates multiple government agencies are involved, Webb reported. Enhanced Assets Division, CIA, NSA, and what appears to be a military special operations unit. That level of coordination suggests this operation was planned at very high levels. Emily's mind raced through possibilities. The government offer might be genuine, but accepting it would mean abandoning enhanced individuals who chose resistance over cooperation. Rejecting it would mean escalating to armed conflict with potentially catastrophic consequences. But there was a third option. Colonel Volkov, she said, switching to the Russian support frequency. Are you monitoring government communications about this operation? Affirmative, Volkov replied. And we are detecting something that Agent Harrison may not be aware of. There is a second federal team positioned approximately 2 kilometers from this location, equipped for elimination rather than capture. Emily's blood ran cold. The negotiation was indeed a trap, not necessarily by Harrison, who might genuinely believe in the partnership offer, but by other government factions who viewed negotiation as an opportunity to eliminate enhanced individuals in a controlled environment. How long until the elimination team reaches our position? 15 minutes, based on their current movement pattern, Volkov replied. Emily made her decision with the lightning-fast calculation that had made her the perfect marksman. But this time, the target wasn't a terrorist transmitter or an enemy vehicle. It was the entire strategic situation. "Agent Harrison," she announced, switching back to the main frequency. "I accept your offer to negotiate. But the negotiations take place on neutral ground, with David Park already released, and with international observers present to ensure compliance." "Miss Smith, I don't have the authority to arrange international observers." "Then get someone who does," Emily replied. "You have 10 minutes to produce someone with actual decision-making authority, or we extract David Park by force, and this situation escalates beyond anyone's ability to control it." Emily was gambling that Harrison's faction within the government genuinely wanted negotiation and would move quickly to prevent the elimination team from reaching the facility. But she was also preparing for the possibility that negotiation was impossible and armed resistance was the only option. Through her rifle scope, she watched Harrison speaking urgently into his communication device. The stress patterns in his posture suggested he was arguing with superiors who weren't entirely supportive of the negotiation approach. "Emily," Martinez said quietly, "I'm detecting approaching vehicles from multiple directions. Some are additional government forces, but others, I can't identify their emotional patterns. They don't feel entirely human." Emily's enhanced senses sharpened with alarm. "What do you mean, not entirely human?" "Emotional patterns that are muted, controlled, artificial. Like people who have been heavily conditioned or medically modified." Dr. Chun's voice was tight with realization. "They're bringing in other enhanced individuals, government-controlled enhanced individuals." Emily's understanding of the situation expanded dramatically. The government hadn't just been creating enhanced individuals through Project Prometheus. They had been successfully conditioning some of them for operational use against their independent counterparts. "Webb, can you identify the approaching enhanced individuals?" "Negative on specific identities, but electronic signatures suggest at least 3 individuals with advanced cybernetic implants, military-grade control, and monitoring systems." Emily realized they were facing the nightmare scenario that Colonel Volkov had warned about. Enhanced individuals fighting enhanced individuals, with government agencies manipulating both sides of the conflict. "All teams, prepare for extraction under hostile fire," she announced. "We're dealing with controlled enhanced individuals, which changes our tactical parameters completely." Emily began acquiring targets through her rifle scope. But now she was faced with an impossible moral dilemma. The approaching enhanced individuals were victims of government control programs, but they were also immediate threats to her team's survival. Could she kill people who were as much prisoners as enemies? The decision was taken out of her hands when the controlled enhanced individuals opened fire on the facility with weapons and capabilities that exceeded normal human limits. Emily watched through her scope as one of them demonstrated superhuman strength by literally throwing a vehicle at the building where her team was located. "Contact!" Dr. Chun shouted as the building shook from the impact. Enhanced hostiles, multiple capabilities, moving to assault positions. Emily's finger found her trigger as she acquired the enhanced individual who had thrown the vehicle. But as she prepared to fire, her communications crackled with an unexpected voice, one she recognized from her childhood. "Emily Smith, this is Dr. Sarah Chun from Project Prometheus. I need you to listen very carefully." Emily's world stopped. Dr. Sarah Chen had been one of the scientists who studied her abilities during her childhood, a woman Emily had trusted and respected. Hearing her voice now, in the middle of a combat situation involving controlled enhanced individuals, suggested connections and conspiracies that went far beyond what Emily had imagined. "Dr. Chun? How are you? There's no time for explanations," Dr. Chun interrupted. "The enhanced individuals attacking your position are not under government control. They're under the control of a private organization that has been conducting unauthorized enhanced individual research for over a decade. Emily's mind reeled. What organization? The Prometheus Group, a consortium of defense contractors, pharmaceutical companies, and private military firms that obtained Project Prometheus research after the official program was terminated. They've been creating and controlling enhanced individuals for commercial and political purposes. The tactical situation suddenly made horrible sense. The government factions weren't just competing over enhanced individual policy. They were competing with a private organization that had its own enhanced individual assets and its own agenda. Dr. Chun, where are you? I'm with a government team that's been investigating Prometheus Group activities. We're approximately 5 minutes from your location, but the controlled enhanced individuals will reach you first. Emily's enhanced perception processed this information while simultaneously tracking the approaching threats. Government enhanced individuals, privately controlled enhanced individuals, Russian intelligence assets, and her own independent team, all converging on a single location for what promised to be the first open battle between superhuman combatants. Team, new intelligence, she announced. The enhanced hostiles are controlled by a private organization, not the government. We have potential government allies approaching, but we need to survive the next 5 minutes first. Through her scope, Emily watched as the controlled enhanced individuals moved with coordinated precision toward the facility. Their capabilities appeared to be similar to her own team's, but their movements were unnaturally synchronized, suggesting technological control systems rather than voluntary cooperation. Martinez, can you read their emotional patterns now that they're closer? They're empty, Martinez replied, her voice filled with horror. Not human emotional patterns at all. Whatever's controlling them has completely overridden their personalities. Emily's heart broke for the individuals who had been turned into weapons against their will, but she couldn't let that interfere with protecting her team. She acquired her first target, a controlled enhanced individual who appeared to have superhuman speed, and fired. The shot was perfect, as always, striking the target's leg with precisely calculated force to disable without killing. But instead of falling, the enhanced individual stumbled briefly and continued advancing, apparently feeling no pain from the wound. They're not responding to pain or injury normally, Emily reported. Control systems may be overriding natural responses. Dr. Chun's voice came through their communications. Emily, you need to target their control implants, not their bodies. The implants are located at the base of the skull, approximately 2 inches below the external occipital protuberance. Emily adjusted her aim and fired again, this time targeting the tiny control device that was enslaving another human being. The specialized round struck with surgical precision, and the controlled enhanced individual immediately collapsed, apparently unconscious but no longer under external control. Confirmed, Emily announced. Targeting control implants is effective. All teams focus on liberation shots rather than elimination shots. What followed was the strangest battle Emily had ever experienced. Instead of trying to kill their opponents, her team was attempting to free them from technological slavery while defending themselves against superhuman attacks. It required precision beyond even Emily's enhanced capability shots that would destroy control devices without causing fatal brain damage. But Emily was the girl who never missed, and her impossible accuracy was exactly what the situation required. Working with Dr. Chian's guidance, she systematically liberated the controlled enhanced individuals with shots that were more like surgery than combat. Within 10 minutes, the battle was over. 3 formerly controlled enhanced individuals lay unconscious but free, their technological chains destroyed by Emily's precision marksmanship. The facility was damaged but secure, and David Park had been successfully extracted during the chaos. As government vehicles approached the facility, Emily realized that the situation had fundamentally changed. The conflict wasn't just between enhanced individuals and governments. It was between enhanced individuals and the organizations that sought to control them. whether governmental or private. Dr. Sarah Chun arrived with a government team that included Agent Harrison and several officials Emily didn't recognize. But more importantly, she also brought 2 enhanced individuals who were working voluntarily with federal agencies, living proof that cooperation was possible without technological slavery. Emily, Dr. Chun said as she approached the extraction site, I owe you an apology and an explanation. Emily studied the woman who had been part of her childhood, looking for deception indicators but finding only genuine regret and concern. I was part of Project Prometheus, Dr. Chun continued, but I was also part of the faction that tried to shut it down when we realized the ethical implications. When the official program was terminated, I thought that was the end of it. I didn't know about the Prometheus group until 6 months ago. The Prometheus group, Emily said. Tell me about them. Agent Harrison stepped forward. They're a private consortium that obtained Project Prometheus research through legitimate and illegitimate means. They've been conducting unauthorized human enhancement experiments and creating controlled enhanced individuals for commercial purposes. Emily's mind processed the implications. Commercial purposes? Private military contracts, corporate espionage, political manipulation, Dr. Chun explained. Enhanced individuals with no free will, sold to the highest bidder for whatever purposes they required. Emily looked at the 3 unconscious individuals her team had liberated from technological control. How many? We estimate at least 30. Controlled enhanced individuals worldwide, Harrison said. Possibly more. The Prometheus group has been very careful to keep their operations hidden. David Park, the rescued enhanced individual, stepped forward. I was approached by Prometheus group representatives while I was in detention. They offered me freedom in exchange for accepting their control implants. I refused, which is why I was still in government custody. Emily's enhanced perception analyzed everyone's emotional patterns and vocal stress indicators. Everyone was telling the truth, but there were still complexities and hidden agendas she couldn't fully identify. What are you proposing? She asked. Dr. Chun and Agent Harrison exchanged glances before Dr. Chun responded. We're proposing a joint operation between independent enhanced individuals and government agencies to identify and shut down Prometheus. Group operations worldwide. In exchange for what? Legal recognition of enhanced individual rights, protection from elimination programs, and the establishment of an international framework for enhanced individual cooperation rather than control. Harrison said. Emily's mind worked through the strategic implications. The offer was comprehensive, addressed most of the concerns that had driven her to resistance in the first place. But it also required trusting institutions that had already betrayed enhanced individuals multiple times. I need to speak with my team, Emily said. Dr. Chun nodded. Of course, but Emily, you should know the 3 enhanced individuals we liberated today are already showing signs of recovery. The control systems didn't cause permanent damage to their personalities or abilities. Emily looked at the unconscious individuals with renewed hope. If controlled enhanced individuals could be freed and restored, then the Prometheus group's victims could potentially be saved rather than simply defeated. She gathered her team for a private conference using secure communications to ensure privacy. Team assessment, she said. Is this offer legitimate, and should we accept it? The government officials believe their offer is legitimate, Martinez reported. But there are political complexities they haven't fully explained. Cooperation would provide protection and resources, but it would also limit our operational independence. The technical aspects are sound, Webb added. International frameworks for enhanced individual rights would provide legal protections that could prevent future elimination programs. The tactical situation favors cooperation, Dr. Chun concluded. We've demonstrated that we can work effectively with government agencies when our interests align. The Prometheus group represents a threat to all enhanced individuals, regardless of their political affiliations. Emily nodded, her decision crystallizing with the same clarity that guided her impossible shots. I accept the cooperation agreement with modifications. She returned to the government officials. Dr. Chun, Agent Harrison, I'll work with you to shut down the Prometheus group and rescue controlled enhanced individuals. But I have conditions. What conditions? Harrison asked. First, all enhanced individuals have the right to choose their level of cooperation with government agencies, up to and including complete independence. Second, any enhanced individual who chooses resistance over cooperation cannot be targeted for elimination or forced containment. Third, international oversight of all enhanced individual programs, both government and private. Dr. Chin smiled. Those conditions are acceptable. In fact, they're exactly what we were hoping you would propose. Emily studied her expression carefully. You expected me to make those specific demands? Emily, you're not just the most capable enhanced individual we know, you're also the most ethical. We knew that if we could convince you to cooperate, you would insist on terms that protected all enhanced individuals, not just yourself. Emily realized she had been maneuvered, but toward an outcome that aligned with her own values and objectives. The government officials hadn't been trying to trap or control her. They had been trying to create conditions where her natural ethical instincts would lead to cooperation. Clever, she admitted, and effective. The joint operation against the Prometheus group began immediately and expanded rapidly as more enhanced individuals and government agencies joined the effort. Emily's team provided tactical capabilities that no traditional military or intelligence unit could match, while government resources provided intelligence, logistics, and legal protection. Within 6 months, Prometheus Group operations in 12 countries had been identified and shut down. 43 controlled enhanced individuals had been liberated, with 38 making full recoveries and choosing various levels of cooperation with their respective governments. Emily herself chose a middle path: operational independence with voluntary consultation on enhanced individual issues. She maintained her own base of operations and chose her own missions, but she also worked with government agencies when their objectives aligned with her commitment to protecting enhanced individuals. International Framework for Enhanced Individual Rights was established through a series of treaties and agreements that recognized people with superhuman abilities as citizens, with rights rather than weapons to be controlled. It wasn't perfect, and there were still conflicts and challenges, but it provided a legal foundation for coexistence between enhanced individuals and normal human society. Colonel Volkov and his Russian intelligence assets continued to work with Emily's team, but the relationship evolved from one of mutual necessity to one of genuine international cooperation. Enhanced individuals from multiple countries formed informal networks for mutual support and information sharing, creating a community that transcended national boundaries. Dr. Maya Shun, Marcus Webb, and Sarah Martinez became the core of what emerged as the Enhanced Individual Advisory Council, an international organization that provided guidance and support for people with superhuman abilities while serving as a liaison with governments and international bodies. Emily Smith, the 19-year-old who never missed, had become something she never expected, a diplomat and leader whose impossible accuracy with a rifle had somehow led to finding the right path through an impossible political situation. But the most important outcome wasn't political or strategic, it was personal. For the first time in her life, Emily was surrounded by people who understood what it was like to possess abilities beyond normal human limits, and she had helped create a world where such people could choose their own destinies rather than being controlled by others. Standing on the roof of her new operations center, looking out over the Chicago skyline, Emily reflected on how much had changed since that first impossible shot at a motorcycle transmitter. She had started as a weapon created by others, become a fugitive from those creators, and eventually evolved into something she was still defining for herself. Her encrypted satellite phone buzzed with an incoming mission briefing, not from government handlers, but from the Enhanced Individual Advisory Council, requesting her assistance with a hostage situation that required capabilities no normal human possessed. Emily Smith smiled and began assembling her rifle. She was still the girl who never missed, but now she was choosing her own targets and fighting for causes she believed in. The future was uncertain, but it was a future she would help create rather than one imposed on her by others. And that made all the difference. 1 year later, Emily stood before an assembly of enhanced individuals from around the world, the first International Conference of People with Superhuman Abilities. They represented dozens of different enhancement types and came from 23 different countries, but they shared the common experience of having been created by others and the common choice to define themselves. "We gather here not as weapons or assets," Emily said, her voice carrying clearly through the assembly hall, "but as people who have chosen to use extraordinary abilities for purposes we determine ourselves. We are proof that enhanced individuals can coexist with normal human society, can contribute to global security and progress, and can do so while maintaining our humanity and our rights." The applause that followed wasn't just from the enhanced individuals in attendance. It was also from government officials, international observers, and representatives of human rights organizations who had come to witness the formal establishment of enhanced individual rights in international law. Emily Smith, who had once believed she was unique in the world, now stood before hundreds of people who shared her extraordinary nature and her commitment to using their gifts responsibly. She was no longer the girl who couldn't miss. She was the young woman who had found her target, a future where enhanced individuals were free to choose their own paths and contribute to a world that was better because of their existence. The shot had been impossible, but Emily Smith never missed. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through Emily Smith's story. Creating and narrating this novel-length adventure has been an absolute labor of love, and I hope you've been as captivated by Emily's transformation as I have been in bringing it to you. If this story has entertained you, moved you, or simply provided an escape into a world of superhuman abilities and impossible choices, I would be incredibly grateful if you would take a moment to hit that like button to show your support for detailed novel-length storytelling. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss our latest epic adventures. Ring the notification bell to be alerted the moment new content drops. Share this story with friends who appreciate rich, immersive narratives that transport you to other worlds.